Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. In 2000, there were less than 1500 to 1700 Royal Enfields that were sold in the Indian market. And in 2014, that number jumped to 5,50,000 units. In less than 15 years, the redemption arc for Royal Enfield was truly complete. And to understand what went behind this redemption arc and what led to the downfall, we need to go back by at least 120 years. In 1893, two entrepreneurs, Bob Walker and Albert, received their first contract from Royal Small Arms Factory. And this is the official UK government factory for rifle manufacturing based out of Enfiled. To celebrate this contract, they started naming their first bicycle design that they were just conceptualizing as Royal Enfield. Subsequently, when this bicycle moved into quadricycle and then this quadricycle design evolved into motorcycle, they stick with the same name, and that is what we know today, Royal Enfield. What we need to remember from this particular episode for Royal Enfield is that these guys were supplying precision parts to the Royal Small Arms Factory. And precision parts mean locks, pins and other components that go into rifle manufacturing. This is important because their entire capability and their entire focus was on manufacturing these small precision parts even before Royal Enfield. So these guys were into precision and perfection right from day one, and that is one of the core DNA strategies for Royal Enfield. Now, how does this lead to the downfall? Let me just move a few years down the road, and in 1950s what happened was when Indian Army was looking to get at least 800 to 1000 motorcycles for its army to patrol around the borders, they went ahead with Royal Enfield, and that's how Royal Enfield got into the Indian market. And slowly when the UK parent company shut down, then it completely became an Indian company. The Indian company from 1950 till 1970, when it truly became by itself, like as the parent company for Royal Enfield, it was only focusing on assembling and production. It was never into designing or evolution of design for Royal Enfield, and that was one of the first problems for its downfall. Between 1970, 1980, 1990s, there were no major technological advancements because the design and advancements were always done by the parent company based out of UK. When that company shut down, the Indian arm was left just with production capabilities and distribution capabilities. Now, it survived the 1970s and 80s because there was not much of competition. However, in 1990s, when Indian government opened up India for the entire world, they cut down import taxes, and at the same time, a lot of private competition was allowed to come into India, specifically in the automobile space. So, Indian consumers were for the very first time introduced to stylistic designs which were competing with Royal Enfield, and hence the downfall became pretty accelerated in 1990s, and in 2000 we know what happened. The numbers went down drastically. So the first reason was that there were no major technological advancements between 70s, 80s and 90s. That was one of the primary reasons for the decline of Royal Enfield. And then what happened with the revival? Well, truly they started listening to the customer. They understood that customers love their vintage designs. None of the other Japanese manufacturers had that kind of vintage design because Harley-Davidson and Royal Enfield were the oldest motorbike manufacturing companies even as of today. And all these Japanese companies have started manufacturing with later evolutions, but Royal Enfield and Harley-Davidson have stick to some of their core design aspects that were coming from 1890s from their bicycle models itself. Hence, that vintage design was something which they wanted to stick to and learned from the consumer, subsequently started making only small tweaks with respect to the product. That is, increasing their mileage and making sure that the product was not going to the mechanic shed more often. This particular point about listening to the customer and how the industry is evolving is super important. Otherwise, Royal Enfield would have gone down the drain by 2005-2010. One of the classic examples that you should know which company did not look into what was happening in the overall industry was Kodak. Kodak was primarily into the camera and photography business, but they did not evolve with the trends. They did not move in the digital technology space. Even when the entire industry was moving towards digital technology, they were still based on the film technology and the chemicals technology. So when there is a chance for you to understand the consumer and move forward, you need to move forward, and that's what Royal Enfield did. The second thing that they did was they preserved their old vintage designs. At the same time, they started launching other models. In 2002, they launched Thunderbird, and 2008, they launched RE Classic, and both were instant hits. Subsequently, what they did was they started consolidating. They did not spend their energy across multiple divisions. Royal Enfield, for all the lifeline that it was needing, it was bought over by Eicher, right? Eicher bought it in 1994, and in 2010, Eicher decided that Royal Enfield is going to be one of its primary bread and butter products. Subsequently, they shut down close to 13 business lines just focusing on Royal Enfield, and number two, the tractors that they have, Eicher tractors. It's very important for you to focus, understanding what the customer needs, building a few products along the same line, and then focusing on these products give you immense market power, and that's what Royal Enfield did, and that's one of the reasons why it could increasingly move towards the consumer preference side. The third thing that they also did was cut down costs. Early 2005-2006, the market was not completely in Royal Enfield's favor. The CEOs realized that, hey, it might take some time, but they were looking to reduce the costs. If you do not have favorable conditions around you, what you need to do is increase your runway if you believe in your product. And increasing runway can primarily come from cutting down costs. You don't need to be a startup burning all the cash in the first 1 year or 2 years. Just extend this runway. You can understand that, hey, it's not about the product market fit, but one of the primary reasons why companies fail or why companies succeed is because of the timing issue. If you are earlier to the market, cutting down on cost or cutting down on your spend can help you give that leeway. I hope you understood how Royal Enfield moved on some of the classic business fundamentals. Number one, listening to the customer. Number two, consolidating different product verticals into two major products, and subsequently cutting down on costs. In the case of Royal Enfield, they did by cutting down on the number of platforms that they were building products on from 3 to 1. And all these three business fundamentals help Royal Enfield to move from a struggling company to truly becoming a global icon once again. See you guys again tomorrow. If you have any specific feedback with respect to the case studies, please do share it. If you like and if you are getting some kind of value from these videos and case studies, please do press on that like button and also subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye-bye.